Hello, gorgeous. How'd you do? How'd you do? You're so gorgeous. You need a secretary.
Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to my new followers. I always get so excited when I see a new one because I'm like, my people, you found me. I like a lot of eclectic things, so it's always nice when someone picks up what I'm putting down, you know? Moving on, I'm super excited about this episode because today we're going to talk about African American B movies, otherwise known as race or blaxploitation films. Before we begin, I'm actually going to opine on these specific terms. Number one, I'm not too fond of them. A low-budget movie is a low-budget movie, folks. So here on this channel, I'll be referring to these types of movies as B movies. I'm definitely not calling them race films, because like, where are we racing to? Is it equality? Because we ain't there yet. I'm a little tired of running. But seriously, really the only difference between a race film and the all-black cast films produced by the Hollywood studio system were that the storylines and acting were a bit better. But interestingly, these films not only starred African Americans, but were funded, written, produced, edited, distributed, and generally exhibited by people of color. Obviously, the budget was a lot smaller, but these are about as good as B movies filmed with all-white casts, so I don't know. I'm calling them B movies here. You can call them whatever you wish. Now that we've got that settled, let's delve into some of these fabulous classic B movies I'm dying to share with you. The first one we're going to talk about is called Dirty Gertie from Harlem, USA. This one came out in 1936 and was directed by Spencer Williams. It starred Francine Everett, Don Wilson, Inez Newell, July Jones, and Spencer Williams. Yes, the same man that was the director. This one is about a Harlem nightclub entertainer named Gertie LaRue, played by the absolutely gorgeous Francine Everett, who gets a gig on the Caribbean island of Trinidad to perform as the headliner in a revue at the Paradise Hotel. Now, Gertie has a reputation that isn't great. In fact, some people call her Dirty Gertie because she's a temptress who delights in seducing and humiliating men. This reputation continues on the island as she works her way through the men there. And you can bet she's not going to get off of this island unscathed for her sins. Is this movie a masterpiece of cinematic glory? No, it's a B movie, but it's a fun watch and the fashion is to die for. The next one we're going to talk about is called The Girl from Chicago, which is an American pre-code drama film made in 1932, and it has a mostly African American cast, including Grace Smith, Eunice Brooks, Star Calloway, Edwin Carey, and Carl Mahone. This one is about a federal agent who falls in love while on assignment in Mississippi. He helps his lover escape, a local gangster, and they abscond to Harlem, where they somehow get involved in the assassination of a Cuban racketeer, who is played by Juano Hernandez. I don't want to give away the whole plot, but suffice it to say, things continue to go off the rails. It's a crazy ride and definitely worth a watch. This next one stars the absolute queen of 1970s movies, Pam Grier. And it's called The Arena, and it came out in 1974. If you follow me on Insta, you know I'm obsessed with Pam Grier, especially 1970s Pam Grier. She was such a trailblazer. I mean, she kicked major ass and managed to look like a GD goddess while doing it. I have watched every single 1970s Pam Grier movie and I love them all, but this one is one of my favorites. This one actually also stars Margaret Markov, and it's set in ancient Roman times. Pam, Margaret, and a bunch of other ladies are captured by a Roman raiding party and turned into slaves. They're sold to a wealthy man who owns a gladiator school of some sort, and he intends to use them as household labor. But one day, he sees a fight break out amongst the women and gets the brilliant idea to make them gladiators and have them fight to the death in his arena. The action scenes are awesome, and the beauty on screen is a literal smorgasbord for your eyeballs. I would not recommend watching this with the kiddos because there is nudity in this bad boy, but you should definitely check it out. The next one we're going to talk about is called Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, and it came out in 1971. It was written, co-produced, scored, edited, directed by, and starred Melvin Van Peebles. Plus, his son Mario has a small role in the film as well. It's often credited as the movie that led to the creation of the blaxploitation genre. This one is definitely not for the faint of heart, and it's super dark. There's a lot of sexuality in it, but it's got a great ending, and it's definitely worth a watch if you're a fan of the 70s B-movie genre. This one is about a lot, but I'm going to try to condense it for you without spoiling it. It starts out with a young orphan black boy who is taken in by a brothel in the 1940s and put to work as a towel boy. At some point, one of the prostitutes that works there ends up assaulting him, and based on the size of his Mr. Goodbar, gives him the name Sweet Sweetback. Sweet grows up and eventually becomes a performer in the brothel's live sex show. One day, two white police officers go to the brothel and talk to the owner regarding the killing of a local black man. Because they're receiving pressure from the community and their superiors, they cook up a plan to arrest Sweetback to appease everyone and then release him when there's no evidence found to support his guilt. So they arrest him, but he escapes, and the rest of the movie is basically insane because everything bad that could happen to a person seems to happen to him, and it's a wild ride. Definitely worth a look-see, I think. Before I go, instead of a bonus flick for you, I've got a request. There's a movie out there, and it's called Four Shall Die. It stars Dorothy Dandridge, and it's her very first credited film role. This movie has unfortunately been lost to time, but I actually saw it when I was a kid. My grandfather had a reel of it. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen family drama, that reel was lost, and I've never been able to find another copy of this film. So if any of you are amateur film historians and come across a copy, please let me know. And that's it, my dears. We're done. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to see you back here for my next one.
Paint and powder, powder and paint, a little lipstick, it isn't necessary, sweet and gorgeous, you're like a breath of spring.